Pasuk says balosas hanerus. Doesn't say badlikos hanerus. Hadloka is lighting. Balosa means when you elevate the lights. Why is he using the term balosa? So Rashi over here explains balosa. Hashem shalav oleh. When you light the wick, the flame goes up. When it catches and ignites, the flame goes up. Kosa badlokosa loshen aliyah. The kindling, the Torah uses the terminology aliyah. You have to keep the fire at the base of the wick to the point where it goes up by itself. You can't just light it and walk away. You have to leave it there until it goes up. The flame extends upward. There was a step before the menorah. The Kohen would step onto a step, and when he would stand on the step, he would light the menorah on the very top. The Kohen would stand on that, and he would arrange the wick, the oil, clean it, and set it up to be kindled. But the first interpretation is Loshen Aliyah, that he keeps the fire there at the base until the flame goes up by itself. What is this all about? We explained that the Gemara tells us that regarding the study of Torah coming upon its truth, it's Yogata Motzosa. And the reason why the Gemara used the term Motzosa, not Hivanto, if you've toiled, you found that it's not you understand. When you come upon grasping its truth, it's a gift. It's a maton, it's a gift. All we do is we have to take the initiative, and we take the initiative, then we merit the gift. The gift is truth, which is the Torah. We find that Moshe Rabbeinu, he had difficulty making the menorah. So Hashem said to him, take a block of gold, throw it into the fire, and the menorah came out fully developed and formed as it was meant to be formed. And that's what it says, Teoses menorah. The menorah shall be made. Doesn't say taser, it says teose. So we ask the question, if Hashem is actually making the menorah, because Moshe Rabbeinu, as we explained, wasn't able to infuse it with the kavanah of what the menorah represents, which is Torah Sheba'al Peh, which is infinite. If Hashem had to infuse it with that kavanah, that it should function, activate the forces which are necessary to bring about the siyata d'shmaya for Torah, why did Moshe Rabbeinu even have to put the gold into the fire? Hashem should have done everything. Miraculously, a menorah should have come out of the fire. So we explained in the past, that's the concept of Yogata Motzosa, that we take the initiative to the degree that we could, and beyond that, then Hashem takes over at that point. That's Yogata Motzosa. The Gemara tells us in Menachos that Shmuel had taught his Talmud Mesech Shkolim, and at one time the Torah Sheba'al Peh was committed to memory, and then he had forgotten it. And after he had taught it to a student, so he asked the student if the student could teach him what he had taught him, to relearn Mesech Shkolim. So the student says to Shmuel, do you want me to come to you, to your home, and I will teach you at your home? So Shmuel says, no, I'll come to you. Why? Because it'll be more effective if I come to you. So Rashi explains over there, why is it more effective if Shmuel goes to the Talmud rather than Talmud going to the Rebbe? Because you got the Motzosa. Because if you take a greater degree of initiative, you merit a greater degree of siyata d'shmaya. So if I want to merit that truth, it's all determined by the initiative you take. That's Yogata Motzosa. That's Rashi, the way he explains the Gemara over there in Menachos. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he had to take the block of gold, that even although you don't understand and have the capacity to infuse it with the proper intent, but by doing what you're doing all you could do. After you've done all you can do, then Hashem takes over. The same thing. You have to light the light at the base. Now the light goes up by itself. That's a representation of Yogata Motzosa. You light it, and then it goes up by itself to indicate that the flame going up by itself only because now it's been ignited. But you're only causality that the end result should be. So I was thinking, just as we say by Torah, is Yogata Motzosa Tamid. It's only due to your toil, and based on that toil, you come upon truth. We explain name in the Ramchal. The Gemara tells us that Mizonos Shel Ksuvnom Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah. One's yearly stipend is designated and determined from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. So if that is the case, why does one have to take initiative to go to work? If it's meant to be, you're going to receive it. So Ramchal says, no, after the chet of Adam Rishon, what was the curse to Adam after he ate of the tree of knowledge? The prerequisite to receive what's rightfully yours, what's meant to be yours, you have to take initiative by the sweat of your brow. Once you've achieved by the sweat of your brow, that's the prerequisite, then you receive what's meant to be yours. So again, same thing. Your material and kemach ain't Torah, but what determines the kemach? The kemach is a prerequisite. You have to take an action, to do whatever you can. And what is what you can is by the sweat of your brow. Once you've achieved sweat of your brow, now what's meant to be yours, you receive. Identical by Torah. You want to receive and be worthy of the emes of Torah, you have to take the initiative. What's the initiative? Yogato. You have to toil. Once you've met the prerequisite of toiling, then you merit the gift of truth, which is the Torah itself. So we see that we're paralleling the physical to the material. And we pointed it out that the Gemara tells us that the winter rains allow us to have the spring crop and the summer crop, because the earth becomes saturated with the rain. Now, the longest nights are what? Are the winter nights. And the Gemara says, Lo ivri leilo elo girsa, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin. Why did Hashem create night? To study Torah. Because a person is productive during the daytime, especially when you live in an agricultural society, during the daytime, not the nighttime. So the night, why did Hashem create night? Hashem created night, so a person should study Torah. So when are the longest nights? The longest nights are the winter nights. So when do you study more Torah? The Torah you study to a greater length is the winter than the summertime, because the day is longer in the summer. So as a result of that, based on Psukim, we find the Torah is compared to water. If you're thirsty, go to the water. That's the Torah itself. So Torah is the spiritual water. The spiritual water, which comes about through the study of Torah in the winter, to a greater degree, because the nights are longer, that's the rainy season. So you merit the rain in the physical to provide the crops and the produce in the spring and summer through the Torah of the what? Of the winter, because it's studying Torah to a longer period of time, because the nights are longer nights. So you find that parallel. You take initiative. All we could do is take initiative. The end result is Hashem. Yogato motzoso. You take initiative, you merit emes. When you meet the prerequisite by the sweat of your brow, then you receive what's meant to be yours. Literally the exact same thing. Moshe Rabbeinu had to throw the block of gold into the fire. That's his yugio. That's his initiative. What came out was the menorah formed with the kavana. That's Hashem's doing. But we have to take the initiative. You light the light of the menorah, which activates the forces of what? Of siyata d'shmaya. That's the menorah, that's elucidation. You do what you can do, but now the flame goes up by itself. That's not you. That's now the flame goes. That's just the reality of something you ignite. It catches on. The flame goes up. Again.
Rabbi, can you help us understand or explain the comparison between Zeh Pesach Tocha Lechem, which presented itself because of a sin, and we have to toil to get Torah, which is, something very positive.
Okay, let's explain. If Adam wouldn't have eaten of the tree of knowledge, whatever he needed would have been provided by Hashem. All you have to do is just absorb the radiance of Hashem, and you're exposed to truth. Adam wouldn't have had to toil to come upon truth, because Adam himself cleaved to Hashem. Hashem is, the Gemara tells us, the signet of God is truth. And that's why Torah is emes, because that's his signet. If Adam wouldn't have eaten the tree of knowledge, there would be no blockage whatsoever. You only need the toil to overcome the deficiency that exists within us. So it's the exact same thing. Zeh Sapecha is only due to the deficiency. You have to, only by the sweat of brow, now you'll be provided for what's meant to be yours. You only come upon the truth if you take initiative, because you have this deficiency. But if you don't have that blockage, everything's obvious. Therefore, one corresponds to the other. One parallels the other. It's only post sin, as you need zesa pecho, you need that toil. You need the toil here to come upon truth. The Orach Chaim HaKodesh says in one location, the only reason we have such difficulty when we learn, he refers to because they're klipos. As a result of sin, they're husks, there's so much blockage. And that blockage causes us that we have to toil to a greater degree to overcome those blockages. And therefore, a person, Rav Chaim Volozhin writes the Nefesh Chaim, before you study Torah, before you begin studying, you have to think about Yiras Shamayim. Reishis Chochma, Yiras Hashem. When you think about Reishis Chochma, Yiras Hashem, that opens all the avenues of truth for you, that they become more available. Because what's the blockage? The blockage is what? Is the sheker, is the falsehood of existence. So by committing yourself to Yiras Shamayim, as learning Musar before you learn, that allows the avenues to be more available to you, to have greater relevance to truth. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, what was his initiative for livelihood? He would go once a year and buy the Austrian sweepstake. That was his ishtadlus. That was his initiative. Because Rabbi Yisrael Salanta be distracted as much as Nayota from Torah, he was eating bread by the sweat of his brow. Someone else who spends 8 hours on the golf course every day, what's considered by the sweat of his brow? He has to become a workaholic, be denied his family until his kids graduate college. He's eating bread by the sweat of his brow. Anything less than that is not the sweat of his brow. It's like a person says in the vernacular, it's no sweat. You ask him, present him with a problem, no sweat. Gives you off the cuff answer. If there's no sweat, the parnasa doesn't come with no sweat. You have to take initiative. And the initiative is to the point of b'zeh. So let's say a person, he has to steal time from his learning to earn a livelihood. He feels he has to literally, it's an infringement on his life to take taken away from Torah. That's a ze'esapecha. So his ze'esapecha is to a lesser degree. Because the cost factor of time is a greater time. It's the story I told with the Chafetz Chaim. Time is not money. Money is time. If you have money, you have time. And when we look at the few svarim that he had on his bookshelf, he would sigh and say he had to take out time to earn money to purchase those svarim. That time for him was painful, but it's something. It's a necessary pain. You have no choice. So for the Chafetz Chaim, what was considered zeis hapecha? If the Chafetz Chaim would do tshuva 45 minutes a year on Bittul Torah, he would record in a year's time 45 minutes, and his 45 minutes, as I say, that should be our worst level of Bittul Torah. So what was Bittul Torah according to Chafetz Chaim? Any degree of distraction from Torah was Bittul Torah, and he was pain. So whatever he had to do to take away, which would be an infringement on his Torah, that was zeis hapecha for him. El Mul Pnei Amnora, Yiru Shivas Haneros, says, to the facing the menorah, all the candles, the light should burn. What does that mean? What was the menorah? We can see the center shank, that was called the menorah. The branches that came out to the right and the left, that was called the Knei menorah, the branches of the menorah, but the menorah was the center. The Ner Maravi, what we call the western light, was the center light. The other lights to the right and left, the wicks, as we mentioned, faced inward to indicate that this lighting is not for physical illumination, but rather it's on another level. It's not that God needs the light, but the kindling of those lights are there because you have to kindle light. And to indicate that, the wicks face the center. Let's take a Rashi. El Mupnei Amnora. They face the middle light, which is not on the branches, Ela beguf shel menorah. It's actually the essence of the menorah itself. That's the shank. Yiru shivas haneros. What does that mean? Shisha shal sheisha hakonim. The 6 lights that are burning on the what? On the 6 branches of the menorah. Shlosha mizrochim. The 3 on the east. Tonim lemulem tzoi. Hapsil shlem. The wicks in those to the east. The wicks faced inward. Chen shlosha abarovim. And the 3 on the western side, Rashi Apsilus Mulem Tzoi. They're facing the middle. V'lomo, what's the reason for this? Nobody should think Hashem needs our illumination. So we minimize the light of the menorah to indicate it's not for the sake that God needs our illumination. But to the contrary, God is the illuminator. Okay? Now, I'd mentioned yesterday the Balaturim and he cites the Gemara the same thing. Penei HaMenorah Yiru, those words, Penei HaMenorah Yiru, to the face of the menorah they should illuminate. B'gematria, V'chi ani l'orach ani tzorech. Do you think I need your light? That it says Penei HaMenorah, towards the middle, the center, they should illuminate. The gematria is V'chi ani l'orach ani tzorech. Do you think I need your light? Numerically, it's exactly what the Gemara says. What's the point? He quotes the Sifri Rashi. I don't need your light. Okay? Over here, there's a beautiful Sipurno. We know that there's a relationship between Yisach and Zvulun. Yisach was dedicated to Torah. And this partnership between Yisach and Zvulun was established by Yaakov Avinu. Zvulun is what provides the material, and Yisachar is fully dedicated that he shouldn't have a moment's distraction from the spiritual, from the study of Torah. So here he explains, you have Mikros Gdol Chumash, El Pnei HaMenorah, Shu HaKonem Tzoi. The Pnei HaMenorah is the center shank. V'zeh kishetifne, shal heves kol achas me'ashisha neiros al konem tzoi. When you turn the wicks of the 6 lights that are burning towards the center, ozi iru shivas ha'menorahs. Now they all do illuminate. If you want the menorah to be functional in its way it should be, the 3 to the right, 3 to the left face the center. Now it illuminates the way it's supposed to illuminate. What does this mean? Now it will activate the forces that heavenly spiritual light will come upon the Jewish people. Why? Sheyored heyos ore yaminim v'or hasmolim. Because the light that's activated by the ones on the right and the ones on the left, because they're facing the center light. Listen to this. Shu Ikar Menorah, which is the essence of the menorah. What is the essence of the menorah? The middle shank. That's the Ner Marovi, the center light. The Maiminim, those who represent the right, are those who are fully invested in the spirituality of Klal Yisrael. They're the Maiminim. Relatively speaking, they're the Maiminim. V'masmilim, who are the Masmilim? The ones on the left. V'oskim b'chayisho. Those who will engage in the material, in the mundane, to assist and provide the material for those who are the Maiminim, those who are dedicated to the study of Torah. So the right represent those who are studying Torah, fully invested only in the spirituality, and the light on the left represents those who are providing the material to enable the ones on the right to study Torah. It's like the Yisach and Zvulun. Ka'omram. The Gemara says a chulin, when you have a leaf on a fruit, what does the leaf provide? The leaf provides the protection that the fruit should be able to develop. Identically, the Zvulun, those who provide the material, they enable the Maiminim, the ones on the right, to be able to study Torah, that they don't have to be distracted from the Torah study. Tia lahofik rotz lekelus barach. So jointly, those on the right and those on the left, when they work in sync, what do? They bring about the will of God as being fulfilled. So So we're able to achieve the intent and the objective of creation through all of us, those on the right and those on the left working together. Viromu eshmo yachtov, and they will elevate Hashem's name in unity, those on the right and those on the left, as they accepted at Sinai. What did we say at Sinai? All the Jews, there were all kinds of Jews at Sinai. The Jews that will be dedicated only to Torah study. The Jews who will be who will be involved in the material, but they all said Naseh. We're all in this together, that those who study Torah, that's only the spirituality. And even those who not Naseh, we're all in this together. We will provide to bring about that same end result, which is Hashem's glory. Klomar ben kulonu nashlim kavanoso. Between us together, jointly, we're going to be able to address the intent of creation. So therefore, that's the right and the left. That's Yiru. When will the world function the way it's meant to function? If those on the right and those on the left, meaning those who are involved in the material for the sake of those on the right, then the world will shine and radiate, because that the kavanah of the bria of creation is being addressed. That's the Sevarno. The Mun, there were three situations by the Mun. Every day, every Jew received his daily allocation of Mun. The tzaddikim, they would just go out to the front door, they pick up the Mun. Who was waiting for them at the front door. The mediocre people, middle road people, they had to go a little further out. The Rishoyim, they had to go way out in the field to get the Mun. The Mun was not available for them. They had to really go all the way out. So what does that mean? The person is the tzaddik, opening my front door, bending down and picking it up. That's Zeh Sapechatoch Alechem. Because he wants to be only involved in what? Only in Torah study. No distraction whatsoever. Even to open the door to pick up the Mun. The mediocre person who takes out time for other things, he's not the tzaddik. For him, you have to go further out. You have to walk a half a block to the store. The Russia, you have to go to the outskirts of the city to bring it back. Because for you, what's Zesapecha? It has to be a true inconvenience. It parallels exactly what we're talking about. Systems that he set up in existence, Midas Arach, Midas Adin, Midas Chesed. Maybe Hashem is locked into those systems. Hashem's not locked into anything. The reason why those systems are there, because he's decided this is what has to be. But if he should feel he wants to override the system, God is never limited to anything. That's Orchem and Yitzorach. As we explained yesterday, I quoted we say every morning in the whole Tinu Ozle Elokim. Empower God. The way God set up the system is that we're worthy, it activates forces. If we're not worthy, he withdraws. But the times that even when we're unworthy, despite that, he does chesed. He's not limited to anything. Our actions do not dictate God. God dictates everything. It's the way he chooses to act. That's the way things function. That's Orchem and Yitzorach. I don't need your light. We don't control God. God, every moment, makes a decision exactly how he wants to interact and provide. Now, I saw something this morning which I never saw before. It says, Kamare. The next pasuk says, when it describes the shape of the menorah, the pasuk Dalid, it says, Zeh masa menorah, pasuk Dalid, Miksha Zov. It was made of one piece of gold. Ad Yurecha, to the lower part, Ad Pircha, the flowers, Mikshahi, was all hammered out from one piece of gold. Kamare asher hera Hashem es Moshe. According to the vision, the Moshe was shown, Kedosam Snor. That's exactly how he made the menorah. Now, so here the Balaturim, if you look in Balaturim, he says something unbelievable. He says, Kamare, Gematria Kigavriel. Kamare is the gematria of Kigavriel. What does that mean? So if you look in the Balaturim, Malamid Shigavriel, who Shehera lo Temusa menorah. Gavriel, the archangel at Sinai, He had shown Moshe the form of the menorah. Okay. Now, why was Gavriel chosen by Hashem to show Moshe the menorah? So what I thought of this morning came to mind immediately. The Gemara we once studied in Avodah Zorah. The Gemara says in Avodah Zorah, it speaks about Hashem's schedule. What's God's daily schedule? The first 3 hours a day, what does Hashem do? He studies Torah. Second 3 hours, what does he do? He judges the world. The third 3 hours a day, what does he do? He determines the sustenance of the world from the largest creature to the smallest creature, to almost the microscopic creature. And the fourth 3 hours a day, what does he do? He learns Torah with Tinok Shabis Rabban. So Rashi explains, with the children who passed away before the Bar Mitzvah, he studies Torah with their neshamas. That's what Hashem does during the fourth 3 hours of the day. So the Gemara says, on Rosh Hashanah, if you're not davening with a minyan, you should not say Musaf during the first 3 hours of the day. Why? Because since that's a time of the harshest, the most exacting judgment, unless you have Schus HaTzibur, unless you're saying, because we have Zichronos in Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, we want Hashem to remember us in a good vein, so we want to be in a better position. So therefore, unless you have a minyan, you should not say Musaf privately during the first 3 hours of the day. So Mar, it's a question. According to what we just said, that Hashem's schedule is the first 3 hours a day he studies Torah, and the second 3 hours he judges the world. So you'd say during the second 3 hours you shouldn't daven without a minyan. But it says the first 3 hours. Mar answers, no. Torah is din. Torah is din. Torah is precise, exacting. Why is Torah din? Because Torah is emes. And it quotes the pasuk from Mishlei, emes kenei val timkor. Acquire truth, don't sell truth. So the Maral explains the Gemara, what does it mean Torah is truth? If I ask you, what is the halacha? There's no gray areas only as a result of not understanding. Torah is exact, is precise. It's either permitted, not permitted. If that's the case, when Hashem studies Torah, the level of exactness, there's nothing compared to that exactness. So therefore, during the first 3 hours a day, Torah is din, it's not rachmin. There's no wiggle room there. As a result of that, when you say Musaf privately without the schus of tzibur, you're going to be put under the microscope. Because that's the time Hashem is precise to the nth degree. The second 3 hours where he judges the world is Rachman. Within that judgment is Rachman. So therefore, if you don't have dominion for Musaf, keep it for the second 3 hours a day. But the Gemara says, what is Torah? Torah is din. Now, who's the Malach HaDin? The Malach HaDin is Gavriel. He's the Malach of fire. Gavriel was the angel, one of the 3 angels that was sent to Avram Avinu. What was of Gavriel's purpose of coming? He was going to Sodom to destroy Sodom. Because Gavriel's Malach HaDin. When Machne Sancheiriv had to be wiped out, what with the story of Chesio Melch Yudah, what does Hashem say to Gavriel at midnight? Sharpen your sickle and just wipe them out in one swoop. So who was the angel who wiped out Machne Sancheiriv, the camp of Sancheiriv? That was Gavriel. We just finished saying, we've been learning the past few days, what does the menorah represent? Torah Sheba'al Peh. That is the elucidation, the understanding, the emes of Torah. You only come upon its truth only when it activates the forces that makes the truth available to us, even when you toil. That's the illumination of the menorah. The menorah represents din. That's Torah. That's the Torah. And Torah Sheba'al Peh, that is the essence of the Torah. Because without Hashem's commentary, you have no idea what the Torah means. Therefore, who's the one who showed Moshe Rabbeinu the form of the menorah at Sinai? Kamare is the gematria numerically is King Gavriel for that reason. Works perfectly. If you take a look in the Midrash in Noach, it quotes a pasuk, and it says that, and we had mentioned in the first parsha of of the Kriya Shema, it says, Ubechol modecho. You should love Hashem with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your money. In the second parsha of Kriya Shema, it says, B'chol levavchem, b'chol nafshechem. It doesn't say b'chol ma'odchem, with all your money, in the plural. First parsha, the singular, it says. So the Medrash says, for Torah Sheba'al Peh, you have to be dedicated to forego many of the amenities of life. That level of dedication, sacrifice are the few. That's singular. The masses are not at that level. They'll be b'chol levavchem, b'chol nafshechem. But b'chol modoichem, it's not for the masses. That's for the individuals. You have to give up. Right? This Torah, you have to die. Die means you have to forego all the physical pleasures of life. How many people are willing to live that context? Only that's singular. It's a famous story where Moshe Feinstein, Zech Tzaddik Levavra, came to the United States. Reb Shlomo Hyman, who was the Reshiva Torah Das, who was the Reshiva in Vilna of the Yeshiva of Reb Chaim Moses Yeshiva, had sent him to America. Mr. Mendelovich had written a letter to Reb Chaim Moses Brzezinski that he needs a Reshiva Torah Das, and he recommended that Reb Shlomo Hyman should come to the United States, and he came. And Reb Shlomo Hyman was in the United States before Reb Moshe came. Reb Moshe came to the United States, I think it was 1941. Came from Russia. And he never met him before. Shlomo Hyman never met Rav Moshe before. And Rav Moshe was sitting, studying, and he sat, when he was studying the Gemara, he sat at the edge of the chair and did not allow his back to touch the back of the seat. He was fully engrossed in what? Because when he learned, he didn't want to have the pleasure of leaning back on the chair. So Rav Shlomo Hyman saw this level of dedication that he didn't want any degree of distraction, any degree of pleasure when it comes to Torah. He says, this man is the future Torah leader in the United States. The future Gadol Hador. That's what he immediately, when he saw this characteristic in Rav Moshe, he says, he's the man. That's B'chol Modecho. Willing to forego it all. That's Midas Hadin. And it works out beautifully, as we said. And I said the name of the Shaloch, even the Midas Hadin, a person is a broken, smattered vessel, even the Midas Hadin will not disgrace that. He'll merit Rachmin. Even the Midas, why? Because only a vessel is contaminated, an earthenware vessel. You can't relieve it of its contamination. What about if you smash it, you break it? It's no longer a vessel. A person is willing to forego even basic amenities for the sake of Torah. He's the equivalent of that broken vessel. Even the Midas Hadin is an agreement that he should merit what he's supposed to merit. So if a person, if you're willing to forego those amenities, what do you merit? You merit emes. Even the Midas Hadin is agreement that you should merit it. Because it's not simple to merit it. But if you live your life, Odom Kiyomas Ba'oil, you may misatzel for the sake of Torah, then you merit the Siyata Dishmaya of that one, of the Torah itself. It goes hand in hand.